for the January 24th meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission. Can we start with a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Stanton.
Present.
Commissioner Surton.
Here.
Chair Bellamy.
Here.
Commissioner Shebel.
Present.
Great. And can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for the evening?
I'll motion to.
I'll second.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, and then we'll start with citizen concerns and comments. And first we have John Wallace. Oh, you can work in there. Yeah.
Turn that microphone on.
Testing. All right. Thank you, Commission. My name is John Wallace. I am the Recreation and Senior Services Manager for the City of Sandy. And I'm attending today because I've been in contact with Taryn. One of my responsibilities as the Recreation Manager is the coordination of our summer concert series. We do 3 to 4 summer concerts at Mining Park each year. And last year, our dates and times conflicted with yours. Not a huge deal. I know yours were successful. Ours were too. However, being that we're 5 miles apart, I was hoping that we could possibly work together, open up a dialogue, maybe a partnership or whatever it is, to ensure that maybe our bands and our times and dates aren't the same, because I think it doesn't make sense in my opinion. And make just sure that we're both not having Eagle Eyes cover band 2 days away from each other, and I don't know, taking the draw away from what would be a delightful concert in both places. That is really my only reason to be here. Your building's nice. Thanks for having me. And I would love to be a part of any conversations about dates, times, bands, things like that. Just open up the dialogue between our cities.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we talked about it. We had a joint meeting with our Arts Commission, and they have a few concerts they also like to do. So we're gonna try to coordinate with them as well, just for the exact same issue, same bands around the same time. And I think we're gonna need like different people to do our audio. And one of our persons on the Art Commission actually volunteered his services because he does it professionally.
Yeah.
So so when we try to nail down more of the details behind it, we'll totally if you have like an email we can reach out to and keep you in the loop, and if you have any of the same services we can use and stuff like that, it'd be great.
Yeah, I'd love to just let's connect and make this simple
Perfect.
or as easy as we can.
Yeah.
This is slightly out of order, but are you at all involved in the lights in the park?
I am. So our Parks and Rec department does that. We contract for a little bit of the street lighting, but Mining Park in general is all lit, decorated, and all the functions runs through our department. So
Okay. All
Me
I'll get in touch with you.
awesome. That'd be great.
Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed that this
Cool.
year, thank you for coming out. One of the highlights of what we get to do for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Is Rob gonna be here also with you? I see, because see that was on the agenda, like number 1 on the agenda, concert in the park schedule discussion, John Wallace and Rob Gaskell. I don't know, the gal who usually staffs this is not here tonight, so, but have you talked to Rob at all? I don't see him here tonight, but.
I don't know Rob, but would love to meet Rob.
Okay, you would love to meet Rob, yes.
All right. Can't
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah, I think because they were trying to transition a lot of the planning to us, because he
Okay.
would do a majority of it.
Right.
Like he mainly was our main person to do it. But last year, I think he was saying that was the last year he really wanted to do it. He wanted to transition it more to us. So we're going to be a lot more involved in the planning and all that stuff this year for the first time, compared to someone else really taking the lead on that project. So
Perfect. I know we contract outside to like a talent agency, JFL, they're local, well-known throughout the Portland area.
Oh.
And just for knowledge for you guys, bands book up quick. So if you're taking it over, they're like info now. So I've already got a bunch of promotional material from that agency with bands and prices. And she's like, get dates and times to me ASAP.
Oh,
So just for your own knowledge, I would say, having this discussion sooner than later would be beneficial to all parts involved, just to ensure that you're getting good quality musicians and bands.
perfect. Yeah, that information would be great to have. So
Perfect. I'm assuming I can find all your emails online. I think I've been in direct contact. I believe her name's Taryn.
Yes.
Perfect. And I know she's out of town tonight, but I can look you guys up online and maybe start a group email, and then whoever takes charge or is coordinating, we can go from there. But I just wanted to come introduce myself and open up the discussion.
Yeah, and if you want, mine is my last name, just at cityofestacada.org, and then that'll be my direct email too.
All right, perfect.
Oh,
Rob, hi, I'm John. How are you? I'm here talking about the concert series. I'm from the city of Sandy, the recreation department there. So I was told that we should meet at some point. So how do you do? Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Tracy.
I'm Tracy Udy. I live at 165 Northwest Hillway in Campanella. And I'm here today in questioning, why are we back to this again? I thought this was reviewed. We decided that it was not going in Campanella, the splash pad. Now we're back to it. I kind of feel like there's some back door going on. I'm not really sure. We talked about Wade Creek. We talked about Portal. There were some different options, but the one thing that we did talk about was that it was not going to be in Campanella. Campanella is a community where there's multiple homes. People enjoy the quiet. They don't enjoy having the rat race, the traffic. You know, we have a beautiful green space. We'd like to keep a green space. What we have now is utilized greatly. The trails, the little park. We did talk about adding an additional park to it, which is great for little older kids, which I think is a great idea, possibly a community garden. But outside of that, Campanella was, rest assured, you will not have a splash pad. Now I have to wonder and worry, can I lay my child down to take a nap, my grandson? Or is he going to be woke up because I've got kids splashing around, yelling, making noise in the back of my house? I mean, is that fair to us? It is not fair. I look at it this way. If you wouldn't want it in your own backyard, don't put it in mine.
Oh, just a touch base real quick. You know, I think the discussion tonight is just going to start an open dialogue because they figured out Wade Creek wouldn't work for the splash pad. As most of you know, the recommendation we gave for the park, which had the playground and stuff like that, it excluded the pickleball courts and the splash pad. So the feedback we get from the community, we do take it seriously. And I think, you know, like I said, we recommended that it wasn't in there in our initial planning. If for some reason, if it came back up, you know, as just like a potential thing, it's just like during the fact finding, it like nothing is going to get decided today, like whether or not it's going to be anywhere in the city. It's just more of, I think tonight's gonna be more of what are the potential options, and that because we don't know the potential options from the city yet. I think it's just we'll get the list and then
Backyard, and you have a little one who are putting down, or you have a dog, or you have an elderly person, or you just want peace and quiet, and you enjoy what you have.
right, you know,
We really truly enjoy it. Beautiful community over there. And you're quite honestly, a lot of people also, there's comments all over the place. Like, I don't want to have it at Campanella because it would feel like it's a community splash pad, which I would agree. They're not gonna feel as welcome. Not to say we're not going to make them feel welcome, but that would be a viable thing. Anybody. Like,
Right.
I'm treating in this neighborhood, do I belong here? That kind of thing.
right, you know, and we're trying to figure out the best option at this point.
So what about Wade Creek? Tell me about this. We know it's not going to go in Wade Creek because of what?
That's
Yeah, go
actually
ahead.
an item on the agenda. It was not on the council meeting agenda at all, which I guess people must have got tonight mixed up with Monday night. because it was not on the agenda Monday night, but our third agenda item is splash pad location discussion, so we will get to that.
Yeah.
So right now we're on the citizens' concerns and comments. So we'd like to get, hear everybody's
Yeah.
comments.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yep. And what other options are.
And
Yeah.
furthermore, for that discussion, I've brought thorough notes and even some things to present on like what the situation is right now.
Next we have Natalie. Yeah.
Hi, my name is-
Hi, my name is Natalie Reams. First off, I'd like to address why we're all actually here tonight and while we were at the Monday meeting as well. You went on record in a statement that you had given for the November 29th, 2023 meeting, saying that, quote, Campanella is still a viable option for the splash pad, end quote. That is why we are here. So if you're wondering why, those are your facts. I am a resident of Estacada. I'm here to state my opposition to a splash pad being placed in the Campanella Estates green space. Since the commencement of the Monday City Council meeting, we have created a public Facebook page specifically for individuals within our community that oppose placing a splash pad in the Campanella green space. In less than 24 hours, the group has been joined by 64 members. The concerns that our community has expressed include, but are not limited to, proximity to existing dwellings, destruction of nature, unsanitary water, illnesses, imminent injuries, blocking neighborhood access and egress, the potential for the structure to be susceptible to vandalism and homeless populations, and an influx of crime. In addition to this, we have valid concerns about the current state of our city's infrastructure and its ability to support a splash pad. We're currently nearing our water capacity during the summer months, which is when the splash pad would get maximum usage. Community members are encouraged to conserve water during these months. It is also important to consider that there are only two options for drainage of the water from the splash pad, either through the sewage system or through the storm line if the water was dechlorinated first. We should not be adding to the current workload of our sewage system, considering it is already underperforming. During the Monday City Council meeting, Parks and Rec Commission Chair Vincent Belomo stated, quote, the reason I am on the Parks and Rec committee is because I believe Parks and Rec are good for the community, right? End quote. He continued by stating, quote, Parks and Rec are good for quality of life. They protect certain land from development. The amenities within a park are always contentious and stuff like that. But I just want to make sure you have the perspective that everyone who comes out to the parks and the events that we have, they really enjoy the park spaces, end quotes. Your comments insinuated that since we are in objection to putting a splash pad in our community, then we do not directly understand the value that our park possesses. That could not be further from the truth. The reason that we are so passionate about this is because we do see the value in the green space that is currently present. We do not desire to see it changed in any way. It does not require water pipes to be laid and a concrete slab to be poured in order for us to value and appreciate it. It is already enjoyed every single day, just as it is. I'd like to conclude by saying that my family is the target demographic for the proposed splash pad. I have 2 children under the age of 3, and my backyard does not back the green space. However, as a good neighbor, I can put myself in my neighbor's shoes and consider whether or not I would want it in my own backyard. I would not. Thank you.
Great. We have Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie and I live in Campanella. I first just want to start with a little bit of what I said on Monday, where democracy is a government in which power and civil responsibilities are executed by adult citizens directly or through freely elected representative, hence the city council. Democracy rests upon the principles and the majority rules of individual rights. The city council voted on this and said no. There is no reason why Campanella should even be coming out of anyone's mouth for a splash pad, pickleball, any of those things. The vote was no. And then we get a direct quote that Campanilla is still on the plate. You're undermining the government. You're undermining the process that happens. We elected those city officials for a reason. Those city council voted, and that should be the end of it. There is plenty of other spots. Across the river, there's hardly any parks over there. Parks are important. We love having kids in our neighborhood running around and playing on the different equipment. Do some parks over there. Estacada is not just the city and Campanilla. There is plenty of other places that this stuff can go and other parks can go. Don't just limit the city of Estacada to the city and Campanilla. The other thing I want to talk about is when you have a splash pad, and with Oregon accepting homeless the way they do, you're going to have people swimming and showering in that splash pad on a green space that gives them every opportunity to start camping there and living there and having a community there and taking over the splash pad from the children, using it as a bath. And if you don't think it'll happen, it's happened right out here in front of your building where you've had people bathing in the water. So you need to think about all of those things. But my main point is council voted. We should not even be coming out of your mouth anymore. Thank you.
Shirley?
First, I agree that the splash pad should be at Wade Creek, and we should work on getting it in there because it was petitioned in 2012 to go in that park where it's supposed to be at the splash pad. As far as operating a splash pad, you guys have no idea how the splash pad works. The splash pad works on a sensor. The splash, like a Boardman, the splash pad comes on at 9 o'clock in the morning. And the only time it comes on is when the kids have their bare, wet feet on it. Once they step off that splash pad, it's done. Okay, that's all I've got to say about the splash pad. I've been fighting this splash pad since 2013, and it's getting to be a big black hole. I mean, I live by Campanella's. I mean, I lived there. I didn't appreciate when they started putting all those houses behind me, especially when they put the 2-story houses up on the fence right into my house. So I had to put a fence, an 8-foot fence up, so I had privacy. Okay, but my main part with this area that you guys don't want to put the splash pad is, if this splash pad was part of an agreement with the area was part of the agreement with the Oregon State Parks. Oregon State Parks, we had to have a toddlers, we had to have a mid-school, we had to have a teenagers, and we had to have a senior citizens. But that senior citizens area is that horseshoe pit. So if we don't get that splash pad in there, we need to put a dog park in there, which, because we have senior citizens at Whispering Pines, we have senior citizens across the street at the trailer parks. Okay. They all walk their dogs, and they're not going to be able to afford to go down to Timber Park anymore, because come May 1st, every time you drive your car in Timber Park, you pay $5 to park it to walk your dog. So that would be an ideal thing for the seniors, is to have that in it. It's fenced up. We might have to raise the fences, but the fences at the dog park down at Timber Park aren't any taller than the ones we have right now. And we wouldn't be able to make 2 entrances where that vacant lot, if the seniors could walk through there. But the seniors need that's the seniors area. That was put in the Oregon State Parks agreement, that we had an area for seniors. That's all I have to say about it. And I was on the park for 9 years, and I really regret you guys going off the Park and Rec. But traffic is more important to me right now up by Campanella's up there at the school. Thank you.
Just want to say thank you to Shirley. She
Yeah,
was
thank you, Shirley.
on our
Yeah.
committee for the last few years. Always did good work, and we always appreciate your help, Shirley. And I think it is a good idea that revamping where the horseshoes are to be something usable because no one
It's
plays
not used.
no one plays horseshoes. And that, you know, a dog park is a good option for that too. So thank you. John?
Hi, my name is John Miller, and I'm just going to kind of reiterate on what I talked about on Monday night. So I'm a resident of Estacada. I actually live on the corner of Broadway and Forest Park in Campanella. My house backs the green space. I'm against the splash pad or any further development of the park, and here are a few reasons why. Personally, my family moved out here to be in a small town where kids can play outside, learn about nature without all the modern day distractions. I grew up in Boring and we've lived in the area my whole life. The splash pad, in my opinion, is a waste of taxpayer money. With our weather, it would only be open 3 to 4 months out of the year, not to mention the upkeep. The problem I have is the panel is looking out for other people who aren't residents and their wants. A big issue is people moving out of the greater Portland area and moving to a more rural area and wanting to change it to suit them instead of the residents that live there. For me and my family, there are 3 bodies of water to play in within less than 10 minutes from my house. This includes Estacada Lake, Clackamas River, and North Fork Reservoir. There are plenty of means to introduce our children to water without building a concrete water park in the middle of our neighborhood. My outlook as a journeyman plumber is that this will have huge issues with cross-contamination from overspray running into the wetland in Campanella. I measured today and it's less than 175 feet from my back fence to the wetland. With the rising costs of building and the already overlooked sewer system, this is going to become a burden to taxpayers. No one is talking about the man hours to be put in or the backflow prevention and upkeep that must be tested every year to keep this park going. Why can't we leave the green space as it is? For most residents, the green space is an extension of our yards where families can walk, run their dogs, kids' teams can practice sports. I've even seen birthday parties, baby showers, and so on. No one sees the trash and crime and the issue that comes with the park. Just the other day, we were picking up beer cans and found a dirty needle. The park lot is often occupied by homeless people or people doing drugs overnight. Along with the parking issue where the HOA that I'm in, I cannot even park my personal car on the city streets. So my vote is against the Parks Department, and I hope everybody stands with me.
I can't read this one, but someone put you put a little bit of does anyone recognize this?
It looks like a signature.
It's like a signature? Okay, go ahead, yeah.
I'm Pat. I live in Campanella. Last night, after we all said our speech, we were told about the water. It started to bother me last night about how low the water is going to be getting, and we may be on a every other day watering. If we have a splash pad, you're going to fill up the splash pad every day if you want kids to play in it. Right there, you're wasting a whole bunch of water. Then you want a public garden. Okay, we'll do it. Everybody will put money into it, put their garden, flowers and everything. But if we're on an every other day, are you guys going to pay for it when all the plants start to die and nothing grows? You guys don't consider the different things that are going to affect if you put that splash pad in, this in, that in. You want us to conserve our water? Then conserve it. Don't think about a splash pad where the kids are in there splashing and it keeps filling, because you're not doing the right thing for yourself and for us. Thank you.
And lastly, we have Rob. Oh, yes.
Do you want to just talk with
Yeah.
Rob?
Yeah,
That's on the, you're actually on the agenda, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we want to do, we just got another one.
Yeah, we got one more and
Do we
then
want to do this one and then that? Okay. That makes more sense.
Melissa.
Wait, when Taryn's not here.
Taryn just, she planned that real well.
Sorry.
Okay. Hi, my name is Melissa Dominguez and I'm a resident of Estacada. I live in the Campanilla Estates community, and I'm here today to express my family's concerns regarding the future location of the proposed splash pad. My husband and I purchased our home in April of 2021. One of the main reasons that we chose to buy in this location was because of the beautiful green spaces to take walks, to walk our dog. And we feel that a structure like the splash pad would be better located at another location, possibly Wade Creek or Timber Park, which is not that far away. I have listed only some of the reasons why we feel it is not a good idea to have the splash pad at the Campanella location. Number one, we'll bring more traffic and parking on the sides of the streets that state no parking will be used. Unenforced and emergency vehicles might not be able to access these streets. As it is, there are signs posted in our community that say no parking at any time, but people still park there, not enforced at this time. So more traffic that comes through there and needs parking will probably do the same. Number two, less green space and less access to take walks, ride bikes safely and peacefully. Number three, the noise to the homes living next to the proposed area. The times that those, are used. I don't know at this moment what time they want to be used, but I'm sure the people that live right up against it would probably not appreciate that. And number four, the lack of security to patrol during and after the hours. Number five, garbage and people not picking up after their pets. Just more people means more things to worry about. And in conclusion, I just wanted to express my opinion on that, and thank you for your time.
Okay, and that's all unless we have anyone online.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Nobody signed up. Okay. I would have to sign up.
Perfect. Okay, we can move on to the commission business. So conscious of the park schedule, and Rob, if you want to come up. Perfect.
So do we want to come back up with Ron and talk?
Sure,
Is
sure.
he still here?
Yeah, if you both want to come up, we can
That way we
discuss it.
can
Yeah,
talk?
yeah.
Does that work? All right.
Estacada is way more important than Sandy, so I gotta go first.
Seriously.
I've been putting on Concert in the Park in Estacada for 4 or 5 years now. I just kind of started it because, and I went to the city and said, you know how close you and I are, Denise? She goes, what do you want? I said, I want money and put on Concert in the Park. So I did, and she let me. And then Melanie's been gracious enough to continue that, and with your guys' help. And I know it's part of your financial part of that. I wanted to talk about some logistic things that I was thinking of. Because of having it on a Wednesday evening, it's a school night, work night, I should say, because it's during the summer, but and the way the heat is in the day and the way the sun is coming in onto the musicians and stuff, it's just a hard time. We found that going from 6 to 8 was too early, and 7 to 9 people leave at 8 o'clock. So it's kind of a thing. And so I thought, well, what if we changed it to Sunday, like a Sunday afternoon kind of deal? And I want to be working with you guys. I'm willing to do this for at least another year and walk alongside some of you that are willing to want to pick up the ball on that and run it. I'm willing to help with getting the bands that I've done every year and do all that. Still thinking about every other Sunday, approximately 2 to 3 times a month, June, July, August. And we've even gone into September sometimes. So with that, I just need your blessing, because I've not called any bands yet. I've not started that process until I get you guys is okay that we can do a Sunday instead of, if you're okay with that, and which one of you want to be my partner in this? So you don't have to answer that today, but
I can
Let-
definitely, I can contribute as much time as you need to the project. So if you need anything, just let me know.
okay.
Would the city be fine with us doing it on a Sunday?
I think Sunday afternoon would be fine. When does Sandy have their concert?
Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So that.
And we don't even like Sandy, so
Solve that.
Yes, you do.
I got the mic. So if we're okay with me doing Sundays, I'm gonna start calling bands and get that go. I usually start in January and get working on that because bands book up throughout the year pretty quickly. So
Do you also, you handle like the audio equipment, like that type of thing?
yeah, so I have we have a sound guy that does all that part of it. And we've hired a sound person and we hired the bands.
Okay, we had a joint commission with the arts.
Yeah.
And a gentleman, I forget his name, is on the arts commission. Mike?
Oh, yeah.
He also volunteered his services for doing the audio. He does it professionally. And he said he would do it like pro bono, and then we would just have to pay another person, like his business partner, to also contributes to it.
Let's talk about
So
that
let's talk
then.
about- Yeah, I would like to loop him in the conversation too. That way we're all on the same
Maybe
page.
Melanie can get you my information and vice versa, and we'll just go from there. And then you and I can go get drunk somewhere and talk about it.
Perfect.
Okay, good.
Being recorded, Rob.
I mean, have a cup of coffee and talk about it.
That sounds great, Rob. Thanks for letting me be here again. Sundays, for as far as Sandy's concerned, it'd be great because that would be non-competing. I would just want to be in contact with you, Mike from Arts, you, Vincent, about bands. That way we're not booking the same bands 4 days away from each other. We can kind of make sure that we have a diverse repertoire of musicians coming to the beautiful base of Mount Hood. And
And we might want some like three-way transparency between Arts Commission, the Parks and Rec, and Sandy, so that way we really avoid any overlap.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, we loop all of us onto something, and then we'll try to do our best.
yeah, I'll hang out for the rest of the meeting and touch base and exchange contact info afterwards, and we can
Sure.
just go from there.
Perfect.
I appreciate you giving me your time. Appreciate
And
you,
if we-
Rob. Thank
Probably
you.
if we avoid the weekend of Sandy days.
Yeah.
Do you do
Sandy
that?
Mountain
Does that
Festival.
roll into a Sunday also, or is that just Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, we avoid the concerts during that week.
Okay,
Yeah, because it is on Sunday. They have their all cleanup and everything.
okay.
So I have proposed dates already, but we don't need to share them now.
And our normal city recorder also, she sent me a link to do an event sponsorship from the Mount Hood territory that would give you like $1,500 towards the event. So if you don't know about that too, that might be good for Sandy, that you guys could also take advantage of that program.
Love it.
Cool.
Well, I'm excited to be in future contact with you and just again appreciate the openness to be willing to talk with me and have this communication between two wonderful cities.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the Park Master Plan Amendment discussion. I think, if you give us the outline of what would be expected of us for that
Okay,
discussion.
so we were, the planning team was anticipating to talk to the city council about that on Monday night, and that did not happen. That was pulled from the agenda. And so I don't really have any update on that, other than the planning team will be in contact with you and also with the planning commission. Because I'm not familiar with what the next steps were on that. So I apologize that is still on your agenda because but we just didn't anticipate that we wouldn't have more information on that yet. So,
Sure.
but the planning team wanted to talk to the council about like, how involved does the council want to be? Do they just want updates and they want Parks and Rec and Planning Commission to work on that together initially and just keep the city council informed? Or do they want to have, maybe one or two of them involved all along the way, or just get updates? So that's kind of the questions that our staff needs, so that we're following the direction of the council and how this would all work out. So, yeah, so more next time on that. I'm sure there will be more next time.
Yeah, and if possible, I think if for council, if we had like like, I'm sure you're talking about it, but like lists of like priority projects, like what really is gonna take priority, that type of thing for the parks would be great to have too. Great, great. Okay, so then we'll move that.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with right now, when new, and this will kind of come up in the splash pad discussion also, when new communities are put in, the Arc City Code doesn't require any park space to be there. That kind of gives them that gap room between, they have house, and then do they have gap space to go and enjoy some more than their backyard or whatever. And so that's one of the big things that I think, if I understood right, that's one of the big things that we want to talk about. How would that look if we were to have some more, a stronger language in the code so that developers would be able to provide that for the community?
Yeah, I think,
I think it says suggested or something.
Yeah,
It doesn't say.
Yeah, something like that. It would be nice.
I think it is important because really we are one of the only cities that don't have those SDCs in their city code, right?
Yeah,
Pretty much
it's a little
everybody.
bewildering to find out that we don't.
We actually do charge SDCs. So each house that is built pays approximately, I think about $5,000 towards parks development. But what we don't have
The
is,
development portion.
yeah, where they might get a neighborhood or a city
Yes.
park in their neighborhood, they would have to come to some other city park versus being able to just walk down the street to their neighborhood. But we do have SDCs, we collect those, and that does help with the construction of the parks. And then we still have to provide for maintenance of the parks, but as far as building them, we do collect
For the capital
SDCs.
expenditures of the
Right,
parks.
right.
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect. Great. And then we can move on to the splash pad location discussion.
Okay, a hot topic in the room. So we have been prioritizing to get a splash pad in town for about the past 5 years, when longer than that, actually, as you've heard, it's like back since 2012 or something. But when the Parks Master Plan was developed, there was a lot of public input on that. Pickleball had not become a thing yet, so it is just barely mentioned in there, but splash pad was a huge priority for the community. And so that was put on the list. At that time, Campanella wasn't developed. It was intended to go into that park, but we hadn't ever, the community grew so fast, we didn't put a splash pad in there before the houses were there. And so it's been 5 years, coming on 6 years now. And so I know part of your the master plan. Okay, I think I was getting the code and the master plan different. Maybe I was supposed to talk about the master plan, not just the code. But we're going to do a mini master plan update of the parks master plan, and that could reevaluate, where the priorities really are as far as parks. But previously, it was a high priority for splash pad. And when you consider if there's 50 backyards throughout town with hoses running for kids to play, if they could go get down to the splash pad, and then it's on a push button thing where it only goes and it's a limited amount of water, and there's a lot of kids playing there versus 3 kids with a hose, it potentially could save some water. But we ordered a kind of a generic low flow type of a splash pad and wanted to get that installed. The summer always sneaks up on us faster than we realize, but the intention is to put it at Wade Creek Park. We knew there was some complications, but we had gotten some really strong direction from, I know Mayor Drinkwood has been an advocate of this for a long time. And it's, the city council said, the Wade Creek Park would be a great place to do it. So we're like, if they can put a man on the moon, we can get a splash pad in this park. But as we tried to go out to get contractors to develop it or to construct it in the back of the park where the horseshoe pits are, the damage that would be done to the rest of the park, in order for them to, they could like bore in a water line, but we have to have a larger water line than is back there. It's just a small little, like a 1-inch line right now. And then the big deal is to get the runoff out into the right place. So we couldn't really find a contractor who wanted to take on that challenge. And we thought, what, maybe this is a sign. We're not supposed to put it here, which I did say, and maybe it was a poor choice of words, that leaves Campanella on the table to put a splash pad because that's our other main large park. We do have a park up in Cazadero Heights. It's pretty constrained in the, with the it's in the middle of houses and it's open to the public, but it's pretty constrained there too. So we need to find another site, and obviously the opinion of at least the people we're hearing from tonight and Monday night, their opinion has not changed. And it sounds like some other people, we did a survey about a year and a half ago, and there was 106 responses on that. There was about a third of those folks said that they would like a splash pad. And so we know there are some folks that would want it in there, but is it really, is it worth it now that it would be a big change to that park? So we also have the option to wait for a new park. We could do that. There's some developments that'll probably be picking up here if the economy turns around a little bit. In the north part of town, they don't have any parks planned at this time because it's not required. But we do know there will be, like when we repurpose that where the sewer plant is now, repurpose that could potentially be park space. That's probably 4 years down the road. We do have other parks that might expand or that might pop up in the new communities, and then we could jump right on it. We have the equipment. We don't have to wait, order it, design it, order it, and wait for it to get here. We have it ready to go. And so that might be a better option, but I just wanted to bring it back to you and say, I'm sorry, we're not able to put it in Wade Creek. It physically could be done, but the cost, the burden just doesn't outweigh the benefit. I mean, the burden does outweigh the benefit. So a lot of the concerns that I was hearing about from the Campanella folks were traffic, parking, privacy, and that they really value nature. So, and we did find out today that our water conservation plan and water master plan update that we're waiting for is probably a couple months out farther than we thought. So maybe it might be wise to hold off and we'll get that water conservation plan, see what they're going to give recommendations for us for. And then we could see what other parks are coming in the future. I know that's going to be disappointing to some because, I mean, it's disappointing to me. I really wanted to get that in there before this summer. And even if we did just run it on the weekends or something, or just run it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I think it could still be a benefit, but I'll just let you discuss it. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer. I do know that there is going to be opportunities, and sometimes just biding your time brings a better option than rushing ahead to do something. So if you have questions or ideas.
I have a question, but I don't know if you know the answer to it. So I know we wanted to get that put in the language that there has to be park space in new communities. And then that conversation didn't happen yet, right? So if that, when that does happen and say they vote on it, the day it gets voted on, then from then on it has to happen, right? Or does it take a while?
It would be an ordinance. You want to speak to that, or do you want me
It's
to?
30 days from
When it's approved, yeah.
Okay.
So it'd be 30 days.
Okay, that's what I was, because I'm
That's instant in our.
it is pretty instantaneous.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was,
That's
that's very quick.
fast.
Okay.
I would like to give a second preface to our conversation. So yeah, thank you for all that information, and thank you to everyone who came out. And you are heard. We have the utmost respect for you, your opinion. I have the same concerns that you all have, but we want a community that's healthy, that's safe, that's secure, that's prosperous. But I think there's a little bit of confusion about what we're actually trying to make, what a splash pad is, and what the implications of it are. Because last time we went through this and we listened to everyone, there was all these concerns about something like this, attracting crime and too much traffic. But we also listened to your feedback on pickleball courts and all the stuff that we were thinking about going in. And as we went down the list, and we were just okay, these are all alarming concerns, and this sounds like a bad time for you, so we're gonna look it all up. Pickleball, yeah. I went out to pickleball court and it was no, it's so annoyingly loud. It's yeah, we don't need this in a backyard. And then there's a couple other things that we had planned that were just yeah, this is overkill for the area. And when it comes to the splash pad, I'm not talking about, we're gonna have a discussion about where it's gonna go. I just want to set the record straight about what the splash pad actually is. And so if you want to share this document, when we were doing this research, we went to other neighborhoods and we talked to these municipalities about the splash pads that they have, and we got some feedback from them. So like in Almsville, they have a splash pad in a residential neighborhood. It's a little bit older, but their response to us when we were raising your concerns with them and being like, how are you seeing anything like this? We've had no problem with parking, traffic, or complaints from the neighbors. Malala, they have a splash pad. It's in the more of a transitional zone. It's like between residential and commercial over by the library. Doesn't draw a huge crowd. People go different times of day. It only runs during the summer. Hasn't caused any problems. It brings as many people to the park as a playground would. Just if you put a playground in, because it didn't get wet, it's the same number of people that are going to show up to it. They don't see much traffic. It doesn't really attract older kids. It's usually a younger crowd. Sandy, same deal. No complaints from neighbors. No, it's quite popular with the city. They're trying to reserve the picnic area so that people can play with it. Oregon City, they haven't seen any problems. They're like nothing about like homeless camps. We haven't, in the more research that we've done, even outside of this, universally, we see that when you have a higher stature, like higher quality playground feature like this, it actually reduces crime in the area. It does not attract homelessness, doesn't attract the camps. If anything, when families show up with their kids and they're playing and they're having a good time and having like and they're living a healthy lifestyle, this is like kryptonite for people that want to do sketchy stuff. Like seriously, like down at Lakeshore, before, if a few years back, Lakeshore was totally undeveloped. It was like just blackberries all the way up and down, a bunch of vines, poison oak, and it was littered with homeless camps. I go running up and down there and I see just tents like out in the bushes all the time. The city went ahead and like cut some trails in, put some benches in, cut some things out. Families started showing up and using it more. And do you see any sense there anymore? Good behavior drives away the bad. And so when you have something like this in your city, it does the exact opposite of what you're forecasting right now, which is that it improves it improves the situation, improves the scene, and it drives that element away. Onto what we're actually making, we're not making a water park. Like when we ask people, would you like a universal access playground? Everyone's like, yeah, let's totally do that. This is a universal access playground that gets wet for 3 months of the year. That's it. It's literally it's like a flat area that can accept anyone. And it's like, it's the definition of universal access. And if it's not on, it's just a playground. And then for a little bit of time of the year, some water comes out of it when it's hot. That's it. It's like, and the thing that we order too is not big. It's small, and it's not this thing that's going to be a huge draw. It's literally just a playground. If we put another playground in Campanella, which again, I'm not saying we're going to, but I'm just saying theoretically, if we brought a second playground to Campanella, it seems like most people wouldn't be put off by that. And I don't think anyone would expect a ton of traffic. The fact that it emits water for a few months of the year, I don't think is going to cause the problems beyond what a normal playground would. Well, this is different than, and again, we're going to have a discussion about the location, but in general, like you were just talking about how you're starting to see some, we're hearing about how there's starting to be some like needles and stuff showing up. A lot of times what happens when you have a big green space, if you don't put something there that is like central that people go to, then that space will get filled in. And just putting in a playground at all, like that, there's like this radius of like pushes all the bad stuff away. But if you allow these corners to form, then you're going, we excuse me, but we gave everyone time. This isn't a discussion right now, but yeah.
Well, we have another section for comments.
Yeah.
We have another section for comments after.
Yes. But, and this is the thing, when people, all the questions about maintenance and security, when Broadway was revitalized, everyone was like, oh, that's gonna take so much maintenance, the city can't handle it, you know, we're gonna have to have more people patrol, we're gonna have to have more security patrolling it. And we do. And then when Wade Creek Park, when that was at, it's like, oh, it's gonna be more maintenance, the city can't handle it. We are handling it. Like, we do have the resources for it. And the idea, based on evidence, based on the history of all of these things happening, is that these do not invite crime. I think as the city grows, the sheer population is a justification for improving our security, making sure that we do have more patrols. I believe our sheriffs are staying a little closer to us now, but that's about it. And not only that, like, this is a discussion about where it's gonna go. And I want you to know what it is. So we're not saying that we're going to go and put it in Campanella right now. We're just saying that when we do have a splash pad, this is what it's going to look like.
I think what would best suit like our what we do here and like our recommendations to city council is, you know, the city does most of the legwork behind. We just make recommendations to city council for their consideration to see how they'll vote on issues, right? You know, anything we say here is that it's a recommendation to city council. You know, we try to get feedback, and I think we do a good job of considering the feedback. Again, you know, the first version of the park was much more in-depth, had more amenities than the final version of the park, because we listened to the people within the community. You know, we put the ADA playground, like, we want that to be built because there isn't one right now for kids that who have disabilities. You know, there should be a park where they can play together and stuff like that. But I do think we very much consider and take seriously your opinions, and that's why we recommended removing amenities from the park before we recommended it to city council, because we do consider people's opinions. I think what would be most helpful from the city is if we had a real list of possible locations that had benefits and like pros and cons. We could truly sit down and say, you know, it's a lot easier when you have hypotheticals and people are just like, you know, it could go here, it could go there. But if we like if they really gave us a plan, like, you know, if it went to where the sewage treatment plant is now, yes, it would take longer, but we have other benefits, like the infrastructure is already there. The flow to the new water treatment plant would be a lot shorter. The new treatment plant is reducing park space. So if there was a way we could take the old space and reserve it for parks, that way we don't lose any park space within the community. That could be a good thing as well, right? You know, so if the city came to us and gave us, you know, and actually had like a presented list, like, these are our three options, these why we think this would work the best, whether it's, you know, and like I said, you know, if something, you know, if it's good, but it's going to take a little bit long time, you know, then we just might have to accept it'll take a few more years, right? If people were like chomping in the bit and we're like, we need to do it now for whatever reason, you have to pick a space today, and it goes here or goes nowhere. At the end of the day, that's up to the council, right? We would make our recommendations based on that dichotomy of a choice, yes or no. We would recommend it to the city, and then they would make that they would take the vote and say yes or no, right? We're just recommending what we think the community would like based on our feedback. And I genuinely think we very much take feedback very seriously from the community, and we do listen to opinions, and we change our minds based on what we hear. And I think that evidence of that is just looking at the plan for Campanella, where we very much made concessions to people because of the things we heard. So, you know, I don't think we should, you know, blaming people is easy and stuff like that. You know, it's a lot harder to, you know, to sit down and do the work and try to figure out and come up with a compromise. And yeah, I think our best way forward would be a plan from the city first, and then we can discuss place after.
Oh, yeah, and Tracy, I wanted to make sure your question was answered about why we got here. After that first round, it was just like, obviously people don't want it there. Let's go find another place for it. And we wanted, and the portal was like perfect. It's like, you know what? Let's take everything that we were going to put there and put it at the portal, because that's not going to bother anybody. We're going to go cross the river, take some sound measurements and see is it really going to like hurt anyone over there. And it's like, this is a great spot for this. And then we had it dropped on us that the portal is not available to us anymore, because that's going to be the wastewater treatment plant. That's why even a comment came up of like, it's a viable option. And even when that was made, it was like it's not the scale or even the location. It's like what we were even considering was like over by like the church and like the northwest part away from all the homes. It'd be a little bit of a pathway to get up there, but I think originally it was kind of like embedded like almost across the street from the old playground, but that's not even, if we were even considering it, that's not where it is. And based on the feedback that we've had, any other option that we have that is viable is what we would prefer over putting it in your park.
The community spark, but
The community spark, it is a city park.
I was just gonna say, I know several of you I've seen before. And I totally hear you. I have kids. I've been since like that park started being built, actually during COVID. That was where like our family met, because there was space. The houses weren't there yet, but the road was. And so I've seen it all develop, and I've been there like along the way, hearing what you guys have said. And it's hard for me because I was part of that original park plan, which was like this amazing park with all these amazing things. And then I know that you were told none of that was going to be there, and it was going to remain a green space. And I totally hear that. And as a homeowner, if that was my home, I would be really upset. And that's why, we took all your comments and we scaled way back and took out a lot, which, like I said, we spent a ton of time figuring out what was going to go in there. So it was hard for me, like taking all that stuff out. Right. And the parking is a big thing for me, and the safety is a big thing for me. And I just know that even before I was here, I've been on the commission for a long time. I thought it was 4 years. She thinks it's longer. I don't know. That we're like, I came home from the first meeting and told my little girl, like, we're getting a splash pad. She's so old now, she doesn't want to play in a splash pad. So it's been going on for so long. So it's like, we have people that really are like, we have wanted the splash pad. We petitioned for this splash pad. Where is our splash pad? And then the like drainage situation at Wade Creek. And I didn't even know, like I saw on Facebook last night that this was happening, and like, we don't control that, like us sitting here. And I don't know. I just want you to know, like, we hear you, and I hear that you guys, like, I wouldn't want people right outside my window screaming in the summer when my kid's trying to take a nap. But we just want to we have like both sides, right? So we want to hear everybody, and I don't know. I appreciate your comments. And I just want you guys to know that I hear you. And we wanted it to go in the portal.
Yeah.
And now we can't. So we'll figure it out, right?
Yeah, and then hopefully
Anything from you, Kalika?
Yeah, and then if we can get land dedication from new developments, then
Yes.
then there's all sorts of fun stuff that we want to do with that. But
you want to touch base on the charity?
Well, I can't really like lead you guys in what you should do, but I think waiting to hear back from the city as far as new options would be great. I think that's a good route to go, just to see, what else is available. And sometimes you just gotta wait, but I can't.
Yeah.
It comes back to us regardless,
Right.
but I can't tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Is that on the next city council meetings agenda to talk, like, when will that happen? That land, it's like the green space in the park, like the new development green space park.
talking about the
Not the
for the,
SBC, because we have that, but like
development code.
the development code, yes.
Mhm. I think that
Well-
it's going to be, I haven't put the agenda together yet with the mayor, but I think that discussion will be on the next council meeting, which is February 12th. And so that will start moving forward. But I like your idea of like us putting together some concrete ideas, timelines of when that property might be available, pros and cons of the site, And that way, if we could come up with 3 of them, for your next meeting, that might give you guys some more concrete stuff instead of just a bunch of what ifs, some concrete ideas about what
And then
you might like to recommend.
here's a question just to prevent future. Is there a way? Because like before any of those houses were built, we knew there was going to be a park, but they didn't know there. Like, is there any way? How do we make that so that doesn't happen again? Like,
Yeah,
how do we make it like transparent to whoever buys a house that if there isn't currently something built there, that it's got, like, is there any control that like the city has over that?
Well, one of the things that we advised on that was to build the park
First, yes. But if it's not built first, like, is there any, I just feel like I know they're very frustrated. Like, is there any way we can like
Like to
this.
put up a
avoid that?
sign, right, to maybe,
Like something that says like park will be developed, like,
I
yes.
think the former city manager Denise, I think she came and talked to this committee about like what kind of playground structure would go in there, and because the developer did put that playground structure and the picnic shelter. And so if maybe in that process, if the developer's doing it, that's kind of the simplest way to get it done. But if the city is going to do it later, they're just going to dedicate the property, then if this commission could come up with some ideas of what would good, I know right now we need field space, like for little soccer teams to practice or little youth football teams to practice. So we might just need open, flat yards, kind of a yard with grass. But if there's other things that you wanted to put in there, if we could put up a sign, the name of the park, the blah 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 city park, to be developed, and then a kind of a sketch of what it potentially would look like. And that way people would know, hey, I want to live in this community. This is going to be a great park, or I don't want to live next to a park, so I'm going to go someplace else closer into town or something.
Because that happened on Gardner too. The people that live next door to it were told that it was not. And then when we went to build it, they were extremely stressed.
It's
So I don't,
interesting because there's a couple houses down and they'd been waiting for years for that park to have play, and their kids now are grown up and we finally got the playground in there. But then other people didn't know that. So I think probably putting up some kind of a sign, and sometimes things happen very slowly when the city is doing them. It depends, sometimes things happen fast, like those houses in Campanella, they went up fast.
yeah, they did.
That was fast. It wasn't a city project, it was a private development, and they just move fast. But when the city is doing something, sometimes it just can take us so long, which is the good news, bad news. It gives people plenty of time to see what's happening, but it also gives people plenty of time to not have been around at the beginning or to forget what was talked about earlier on. And so I think that maybe just that signage, making a plan and then putting up a nice sign so people know what to expect. And it might be 6 months or it might be 5 years or 10 years, but that something would be planned there. Might be one idea. Do you have other ideas?
No, I mean, that's really just data's communication. And I think that's what happened here, is that there was these grand plans for the city park that were never communicated to the people that were buying there. And in fact, the opposite was communicated, like pretty explicitly.
So I think moving forward, when new developments happen and we make those plans again, that's definitely like number one, to put some sort of signage, like the big ones we have in front of the middle school and the high school.
Or right out here, we took that tip from the school with their nice signs. The Main Street project out here has a nice big sign. So hopefully, not everybody sees those either, but
at least it's there. I mean, and before you like we drove, people drive around before they buy. I would hope that would at least help.
Right. Okay, so I think my direction is to work with staff and bring back 2 or 3 locations that could be possible in the future, what a timeline might look like, and some pros and cons of those sites, and so you have more information to talk about.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'll work.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. All right, and then we're on commission report comments. Anyone have any? We have these. Anything for commission business before? Do we technically have a vacancy now? Oh, so just as a heads up to anyone, we do have a vacancy because Shirley did leave us for the safety committee. So if anyone feels passionate and wants to volunteer their time and join the committee, we have a free space for anyone to sign up and come join us, but we have a few more comments. So we'll start with Natalie.
I feel as though our safety concerns are being undermined. And for that, I would like to address safety issues that are present with splash pads. According to the CDC, splash pads are usually designed so that standing water does not collect water in the play area itself. Because of this design, splash pads do not always meet local, state, territorial, or tribal definition of an aquatic venue. This means that they are not always adequately regulated. Splash pads can spread germs and make users sick if the water is not adequately disinfected. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, an article titled, "Read This Before Letting Your Kid Play on a Splash Pad," the author details 2 separate instances in which splash pads were the cause of deadly and serious injuries. In 2021, a 3-year-old died after being infected with a brain-eating amoeba that he got after playing in a splash pad. Texas public health officials found the splash pad's water was not adequately disinfected. And in 2005, the CDC reported more than 2,300 people were infected with a cryptoparasite after using a splash pad. This prompted the New York City officials to pass emergency public health laws to regulate splash pads, including ultraviolet light systems to kill the parasite, even though it could live more than a week in water. Splash pads are responsible for many injuries to minors, according to the National Electronic Injury Surveillance System database. In 2014 alone, there was an estimated 20,000 injuries on pool decks, splash pads, or water parks, resulting in an emergency room visit. In addition, over the past 4 years, there have been prolonged closures of splash pads due to injuries. Relying solely on what is reported by local news sources, there are at least 20 splash pads that have been closed due to injuries. This is likely a significant underestimate. Children have also suffered major burns to the bottoms of their feet from splash pads. In an instance in 2016, it even required a child to receive skin grafts. It is important that the city also be considerate of the safety issues that adding such an attraction could pose for the access and egress of the back half of the Campanella neighborhood. If the streets were ever double parked, it would restrict any access of an emergency vehicle. Any delay at that point would be catastrophic. Splash pads have been reported as being utilized as showers and have also become occupied by the homeless population. According to the Daytona Beach News Journal, in an article titled "Homeless Anchored in Daytona Beach Oceanfront Park," transients were washing their clothes in the park and hanging them there to dry, consuming alcoholic beverages, and relieving themselves in the open in the space. In 2021, a homeless encampment led Seattle to close a spray park, according to the Seattle Times, for similar circumstances. I would just like you to consider any other area that you could place a splash pad that would not be in people's backyards. Thank you.
Vincent, can I speak a little bit? Yeah, thank you for that. I will say, we have a skate park. That was a big step to put the skate park into, because you can read a ton of stuff like that about skate parks. And thankfully, we haven't had big problems with that. But there are risks, I think more so with the skate park than with the splash pad. But just to quell some concerns, we wouldn't be recycling the water, which is why we have to, again, I mentioned the water conservation plan, and we have like a low flow so that we're not using a lot of water. Because if you do run that risk. If you recycle the water, we'd have to run it like a swimming pool where somebody's always on site to monitor it, because it could cause problem. But we would run the water straight through, so it wouldn't be it wouldn't get contaminated. But just to clarify that, I know Happy Valley recycles their water, so it saves water. And B, when we had that chlorine shortage a couple of years ago, they were still able to run it because they had all their chlorine tablets. I'm like, how can you run that? Because it's a chlorine shortage. And they said, oh, we already have all our tablets. We can run it. People can stay nice and cool. But ours would not operate like that. It would be just straight fresh water.
I think that's the what they want done. Yeah. Julie?
I actually just want to let you know that there's a homeless gentleman right out here peeing on the city building. So there is a homeless problem here. Yeah. So we do have some homeless issues. I'm just, I'm very passionate about government and how government works. And I think our youth, they look to you guys, they look to the city council. That's their first introduction to government and how government works. I'm frustrated because Campanella keeps getting brought up when the city council voted. They've already voted. They voted no. So it's backdooring and it's undermining the government process to even bring it back up. The city government is done. It voted. So what you guys are doing is actually really disgusting for our youth because you're teaching them that we can skirt around it or we can undermine or we can go around a different way when city council has already spoke. And I don't, to me, that's just, the youth is who's going to run this city one day. And that's what you're teaching them, is to undermine and skirt around it and go around what's already been voted. That's not how I want to raise the youth in this city at all whatsoever. And I would hope that you could look yourself in the mirror and see that same thing, because what you're doing is teaching them to be totally wrong. And that's not what we do as a government.
John?
I just have two questions. So one is, so you guys already purchased the splash pad, correct?
Yes, I have it. I have purchased it.
Oh, okay. Can you guys put a blueprint of like the size and details of it so people can see that online?
Absolutely, we can do that.
And then my question two is for Stefan. You were saying that you had a bullet point without actual real facts, just statements that you thought. And have you ever been to any park in Gresham or Portland?
Those aren't my thoughts. Those were the comments that came from those municipalities when we asked them.
Yeah,
we took all of your concerns and we phrased them as questions for the departments that had put those in to get their feedback. And that was their self-reporting. That wasn't just what I made up.
I know, no, I understand. I'm just saying that those aren't specific facts. Like if you look them up online for multiple places, that's just that one park there from one person that you asked from government. It's not from the community. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
and then my other question was, have you been to any park in Portland or the greater Gresham, Portland metro area in the last 6 months?
Yeah, and but this is a different park. I mean, when also, and here's the thing.
It is a park, right?
But let's back way up too. We are not recommending Campanella. The reason why I mentioned all this is because people are making all these assumptions about a splash pad. We want to have a splash pad for the town, and I don't want people to think that it's going to be this like crime magnet. We don't want to put it in Campanella because you guys don't want it in Campanella. You've been heard. I want you to understand that we want a splash pad for this community, and it's going to be a good thing. That's all I was trying to get across. I'm not trying to say that we want to shove it in your backyard.
Okay, yeah. I was just saying that, you have to look at things all the way around, not just as a whole.
I would just say a little bit though, I lived in Oregon City before this and Canby before that.
That's Clackamas County.
Those are, yeah, we're Clackamas County, right?
Yeah, but
I'm saying like those, I think those are better comparisons to Estacada, like Malala, Canby, Oregon City, Boring, Damascus, that's,
Boring and Damascus don't have public transit.
No, I know, I'm saying, but comparing us to Portland as a comparison versus us to like Canby, where Canby is, we have less people than they do. Really, you would compare us to like Colton and stuff like that,
We have 1% of Portland's population here.
I'm just saying there's a lot of people like moving out this way because they want something that's different from their community, but then they come here and they want to build the exact same thing they already have. So that's just my personal opinion on that.
Right.
But yeah, so if we could get those blueprints, that'd be great.
Yeah,
sure. I can get those online. There are a lot of people who hadn't just moved here who also want a splash pad. It's not just the new people coming that want a splash pad. But like they're saying, we're not, we hear you that Campanella is not the ideal spot to put it according to the people who live there now. And so we respect that. And I'm gonna come back with some alternatives. But it's not just the new folks who are wanting a splash pad. It was quite a
It was a
significant.
long time
Yeah.
And
ago.
the only
Yeah.
thing I want to say is, we didn't know that the equipment was it was the city purchased the equipment. I just found out about that. And when you guys found out about it, I had no idea before it was purchased either.
Yeah.
We find out from the city, we get our information from the city at pretty much the same time you guys do. So we're working pretty much in the same time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect.
My plan was to have it installed this summer, so I
Yeah.
ordered it like way early this year. It takes such a long time to get stuff that we finally got it this past fall. So at least we have it. We
Yeah.
have it. I'll get it online so you can take a look at it. It's pretty simple. It's definitely not resort style. It's just like you said, it's a playground that gets wet.
Yeah.
Well, and there's not any structure on it to play on. You would just run around on it, I think. But yeah, I'll get a picture of that out so people know more what we're talking about.
Sure.
Mhm.
Tracy?
So I just wanted to touch on crime, and then also you were saying like the homelessness, the bathing and the water features not really being an issue. I directly back the park. The parking lot's in my backyard currently, and I watch people have the door propped open, they're bathing in the sink. We have traffic all hours of the night, including day, which is not monitored. It's very concerning that you can call the cops and you can sit there until hours and no one shows up. I have to go out on my own to shoo these people on. They don't belong there. They're camping out all hours of the night. You know, they're bathing in our restrooms. I've watched someone shit out here, literally, in the water feature. This is disgusting. I don't want that in Campanella. I don't want it for any water park anywhere. But to be honest, this is happening as much as you don't want to think it is and say that like, oh, well, if you have more amenities, then less happens. That's not true at all. You put a water feature in, you're going to get the homeless, you're going to get the bathing, you are going to attract those people as well as good people. And as far as the, people coming in using needles and drugs and parking when they shouldn't be there, it's happening now. It's going to happen even more when you get the park features in. There's going to be more of that happens. And it's just not welcome there. It's not welcome really anywhere. But if I had my way, we wouldn't be doing a splash pad at all. My question is, why did we, Melanie, this would be directed at you, why did we order a splash pad and kind of put the cart before the horse if we didn't actually have a place to install it?
I ordered it because the information that I had was that we could put it in, that we could find a way, and we were determined to find a way to get it into Wade Creek Park because that is where the recommendation was to put it. And typically we find a way. That's how we roll. However, in this, it turned out the cost is going to be too great. But we have it now. It's not designed, it is designed to fit in that space, but it can go anywhere. So we're kind of back to square one with the location. If you read the park's master plan and the appendixes to that and all the comments that are in that, granted, it is 5 years ago, or coming on 6 years because it's 2018, so 6 years ago, I guess. There's a significant number of people in our community, maybe not in Campanella, but in our community who really want a splash pad and would really enjoy it. And so that is, it's a priority, it's in our plan, and that's where we're going forward with it. And that's what I'm tasked with. So that's what I do. I have the equipment now. We might have to hold on to it, but it only gets more expensive. So if we, have it now, we can install it when we can, come up with a good location. So that's why. It's because it's not for the people who don't want it, it's for the people who do want it. And there's a lot
The
of them.
location is obviously securing a location would make sense when you're spending that type of money that
Mhm.
you're not going to say, oh, I'm going to buy this for in the event 10 years, 20 years down the road,
Mhm.
I'm able to utilize this.
This
That
is
just does not
Yeah, that's not
seem,
gonna happen.
It won't.
It won't
And
be
what
20.
about, isn't there a phase 3 at Wade Creek or?
Yeah, have you been up there? It's really nice.
No, phase 3 was completed. That
It's
was
all-
that.
Okay, so there's
that-
nothing outside of that that can be developed either.
I don't think I think Wade Creek's done.
Until the mill property develops and heads in that direction, we're pretty much done at Wade Creek Park. But we do, we'll find some other options. I do have to say, I appreciate everybody here's concern. I'm sure there was a lot of concern when that skate park went in again, but it's been great. People really enjoy it. I hear complaints about it too. But we will get the splash pad installed. It may not be up and running this summer, but we'll make a decision on that as we can come up with some options for what's coming available. So.
Can I ask?
wait.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
it's like not, I have a question for you about that, since you can see the restroom. I thought, is the restroom unlocked at night? Like, is that happening during the day? I'm just curious. Okay, because I thought. Okay, because originally
I thought it had auto lock on it or something.
yeah, I thought it was supposed to be locked at night. And when you said that, like, that's concerning to me.
We can ask our parks
okay.
crew.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So thank you for saying that. Yeah. 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 Okay, yeah. Thank you for that bathroom comment though, because I know originally when we put them there, that was the intention was that they were going to be locked at night. So thank you.
And, the one thing I would say too is, we hear a lot of safety concerns. Obviously, we take safety into consideration when making the plans for the parks and stuff like that. But I think, it also would be good to bring it to the safety people, the traffic and safety, because, they have more of a direct line to our police officers and people like that, and they could better address safety concerns than us. You know what I mean? I think that would be a good a good resource to communicate that as well.
Yeah, and I think it's been mentioned that with the officers being obviously I won't go to concerts. Sometimes we look at a lot of Tracy it's going to be agents because I am not afraid to call them. Their response is not amazing. I can say that. However, now I have a couple of cell phones, so I'm able to do a little quicker. But it's because they're like, oh, sure. Yeah, if we want to, I want everyone safe. And there's nothing wrong with wanting safe things.
No, I think you're right. Safety definitely is a concern. I personally don't think, it's like, we do nothing, and then all, and because that's also, that's not going to help the safety problem. If we built nothing and we did no park projects, we would also still have these issues.
Probably, and the data and all of our research points to the fact that when you don't do anything is when you have more problems. That's why that's a big part of our mission is that when we bring these bits of fun and recreation to people, we are also defending against those elements and we're ensuring the security. We're adding to the security when we add these positive, healthy elements to our community. That's what we're trying to do here. So we're on the same page. We all want the same thing.
When I go through a jog through the park and I see trash and, or if I see something that's not right, I email the city and the public workers take care of it like almost immediately. They're very responsive, especially if you email them about like, trash concerns, stuff like that. Right. And, and I hope you see the results of, bringing that attention to them, right?
I don't know that I always do now, and I think that the trash for days of I would say that like, as far as the trash goes, like it'll sit for a few days with nothing being done and you can make a phone call in and hope that somebody comes out and takes care of it. I think they can do a lot better job than they're actually doing currently.
Sure. And, but like, like the more eyes we have on an issue, like, if multiple people were like, hey, you need to come clean this up, you need to do this, if it wasn't just, I think we're saying is like, if you have like a critical mass of population, like focused on something and, bringing attention to it, that's, you'll get more results, right? If we have more families in parks and stuff like that,
Right.
it will bring it, like I said, it brings that with it. You bring more families into it, you have more of your neighbors, more of like your neighbors isn't everybody coming, it builds community and it highlights those issues, and hopefully the city can better take care of the issues we all see, right? That's what I say, like I said, if you see something, say something, and
Most definitely.
yeah, and if you email it pretty much. If you email me and you say, hey, I see this issue at the park, I will, I can forward it on to everyone. I'll make sure it's brought up during the meetings, and, we'll talk about it and try to get the things resolved. Chrissy? No.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Just to piggyback off what Tracy was stating, we also can see the little playground and parking area from my house. And as she stated, there's always cars there in the middle of the night. My husband has gone out as well to kick people out. And the trash, there's always trash in that trash can it's always overflowing. In addition, for parking, that's a huge concern. People don't care. They park on both sides of the streets, regardless of whether or not there's a no parking sign or not. And that's evident even in the school when baseball season, you can't get through. That's to the Campanella neighborhood when baseball season is going on. I can't tell you how many times I've had to back up down the street between two sides of cars to let somebody else come through. And that's been brought up several times and it's not ever been addressed. So that's going to happen on our streets if a water park or a splash pad is put in. We're not against a splash pad, but why does a splash pad have to be in a neighborhood?
We're saying it doesn't.
No, I'm just saying. No, that's not, well, we're just piggybacking off of what has been said before and what has already been voted against. And what you, Melanie, had specifically said, Campanella neighborhood was put back on the table. That's a neighborhood. My understanding is that the land next to the Shell station has been offered up for a splash pad. Why isn't that being looked at?
Okay, I think we can agree that, we did remove the splash pad from Campanella, right?
Yes.
And no one tonight has said the splash pad's going to Campanella, right?
No, but it hasn't been said that it will not.
But I mean, we're not going to assert a negative. If they come back with a list and it's on there for some reason, we will take the exact same amount of care into making sure it's not there as if it was, like I said, we get all of our information from the city, and
but that's the thing, it was already taken care of because all of our concerns were brought up 2 years ago and the city council voted. So we don't have a lot of confidence saying that you're not going to put it back on the table for Campanella.
Well, we're an advisory committee, and so all we can do is advise the city. We can't tell you that no, it won't happen because we don't have the authority to say no. We can only tell the city, which we already are telling the city, which is, no, we don't think that's a good place. People don't want it back there. We're going to try to find somewhere else. That's what we're going to.
But I'm also saying, I don't think it should be specifically in a neighborhood. I have friends that live outside of Campanella that have young children who would love a splash pad, but they don't want it in a neighborhood because they feel it excludes them from the water park, even though it's a city park.
Should it be in a commercial area? Maybe.
Why not?
But I would say, people are mad about a hypothetical. Like I said, I think it'll be more productive once we get the list of locations from the city. And then we can look at it, and
put it in your backyard, Melanie, if you want it so bad. And you're not against having something close to your house, then you can
direct
put it
comments
down.
at people directly. It's for the board.
We're saying that I really appreciate how the commission's handling it. We'll bring back options.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. We'll look at the options. We'll weigh the possible options. And like I said, we don't know what's going to be on the list, right? We will find out with you, and we will genuinely look at every single spot and to choose the best spot for the community that we can. And I think we've shown we are serious about this because we did remove it from the park plan. That's like an affirmative thing that we did to make sure
And
that
we
I know.
appreciated that, and we thought it was all done until comments were made that it wasn't done.
I-
So that's where our concern is.
Yeah,
And regardless of whether or not what we were told by our builders when we bought our house, regardless, it's a safety issue for my neighborhood. And I have many cops in my family, many. And you know what they all say? Neighborhood parks like that, regardless of whether there's a splash pad or not, attract more homeless and more crime during the evening hours or during the overnight hours. And we've experienced that in our neighborhood. So
Thank you for sharing.
yes, and I think, like I said, I think we're very much like taking the concern seriously, and if there are other options to mitigate those things, like maybe like lights in the park overnight or something, something like that, if we could come up with creative options on how to make sure that our parks stay safe.
Yeah,
That-
problems are things we solve.
Right,
that
right.
Are meant to be solved. They're not things that we just run away from.
well, so far they haven't been solved for our neighborhood.
That's it, we'll do our best to take care of everybody's neighborhood parks. I think we truly try to. No, I say, like, we do our best to try to take care of we try to, it's tough, when people only come out because they're mad about like one specific, but like, if you came, I'm not saying you have to come more often, but like, if you were to come more often and like say, hey, this is what we're seeing right now, could you guys help us out? Like, because we've never had anyone from Campanella come to a city meeting before to talk about like
We've come to city council meetings, maybe not the parks meeting specifically, but we have come to city council meetings.
Let's say, if like, I don't know about, I try to go to as many council meetings as I can. But if you were to come here, like, we had, I remember, I think it was Pat came and talked about like how it needed to be mowed or something like that. And we were able to, as soon as she said that, we told the city, hey, let Public Works know they need to mow, right? And we try to, so if you came like maybe here once in a while, or like someone came, was like, hey, this is what we're seeing, would you be able to do something about this? I think we would be able to work together a lot better. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, I have something for you then. The sprinkler system for the area, the green space behind my house hasn't worked since I've moved in.
Are there sprinklers in the
Yeah,
park?
there were. We've seen when we first moved in, they were there, but they haven't been used in, I think, since the first summer we were there.
Would you take a picture and send it to me just so I can verify, and we can verify?
I'm not sure if those were just the temporary irrigation while they were building and grading the park area. We don't irrigate most of that. So it will grow in the, it'll be more natural. It will grow when it's rainy, it will dry out when it gets
There's
dry.
sprinkler systems on the other side of the park
There's some in the,
where the shelter is.
yeah, absolutely.
So why is one spot,
That was designed already. We are staying out of the rest of the park. But I think we need.
but
to
it's a
move on.
city park. So it
And
should
it's
be
an open
taken care of.
space.
It's still a city park and used by, I see teams practicing baseball there in the springtime, soccer. There's parties there. I think there was a turkey trot there or a run not too long ago. So it's being used. It's part of the city park.
Great.
Thank you.
But are you saying you do want the sprinklers there? Or is that what you're saying?
No, I don't want a water park, but I would like the grass to be green. If you're watering the other sections of the park, why are you just leaving this one section out?
Okay, I was just trying to clarify what
No, not sprinklers. To keep the grass green. And so, maybe a spark doesn't come over and catch the grass on fire, maybe.
Okay. That wasn't Carrie, right?
No, that was Christine.
Carrie? Carrie Dobbs? Oh, yes.
My, what a controversy, huh? Lots of stuff going on. Hey, what are the turn the mic on?
I think.
Hello?
There you go.
Greetings. Hey, a few minutes ago or time perhaps, you said a comment on that you don't set the agenda for your group? Who sets the agenda?
Who said we
Wait,
don't
I didn't
set
say
the
the
agenda?
agenda.
Yeah, who sets this agenda? Who said if you don't, a few minutes ago, you said, we don't set the agenda. Who does set the agenda?
I wasn't referring to the agenda in the packet.
It might have been me. Well, I said something about not knowing that this conversation was gonna happen
Yeah.
until I just saw the agenda. So we can put like, we can say like, hey, I want this to be on the agenda. And then a lot of times the city will have things that they're like, you're gonna talk about.
We had a
This-
mishap this week where our agenda just showed up late.
Yes,
So we just got it yesterday.
because we
So-
usually get it.
But it comes from city staff?
So usually what happens is Taryn will email me with the agenda items that they have for us this week.
Okay,
And then she'll say, can you do more or less based on, or is there anything else you would like to talk about?
okay.
So like this week, we had the concert, the splash pad and the park master plan, and then like a goal setting thing.
Okay,
But I knew like the goal setting thing wasn't gonna be feasible with all the comments. So I took that out and put it for next month.
okay.
But it comes from the city, yes.
Okay, got it. One other question. I want to point something out here. And I want to ask this question straight out. This is a black chair. This is going to be the word no. This is a whiteboard. It's going to be the word yes. So once again, we have no and we have yes. And the question to answer all these people is Campanella off the table? Yes, black chair. No, black chair. White is yes, this is no. What is it? Is Campanella off the table for splash pads? Yes or no? White, black? Yes or no?
Look, this is the one thing I will say, as we discussed earlier, the city will give us a list of locations. And then as soon as they give us a list, everybody will know next month, come back next month, we'll see what's on the list. And then if it's there,
We're not gonna, like, I don't think there's anyone on this committee that wants to pick it. If that's one option and there are two others, we're going to favor the other ones. And, I mean, I know I personally don't ever think in absolutes. There's a space between these, and I'm going to point much closer to the black chair personally. Because there's only likelihoods and there's a continuum and
Again,
Well, we can only recommend though.
yeah, and
too.
then
We
on top
don't
of
have
that,
the
all we can do is
final
advise
say.
against Campanella and we can advise for another location and then there's a choice that is made that's out of our hands.
It's
like,
hard to find another location.
we affirmatively said no before, right? I think it's safe to say we will think the same way again. But I think we should just see the list from the city first and then see what's on there, and then we can move forward with the splash pad.
So the one no was not big enough, is what you're saying. The first no didn't count, right?
No, the situation changed after the first no. We wanted to provide more information to the city council because the situation had changed. And I don't think they're going to be favorable towards putting it in Campanella either, because unless 50 of your other neighbors come out and say, please put it in Campanella, I just don't see them wanting, if there's a strong contingent of people who don't want it there and nobody else really cares, I think they're not going to want to put it there. We're going to try really hard to come up with some other locations, even if it's a longer term, to locate that splash pad.
I
So,
like that statement, nobody else cares. That's good,
Yeah.
because these people do care, and they're
Yeah.
here for one reason, to not have it in
Mhm.
the backyard, which they paid a lot of money for.
well, I did get an email from somebody saying that they'd like to say they would like it in their neighborhood. And that there's other people that feel the same way, but I think that, if we could put it anywhere, I think they'd probably be happy just to get it. And I think that the city council is really not gonna want to, sometimes we have to make decisions that we don't like where the wastewater treatment plant's gonna go. That we worked on multiple sites. It ended up, this is where it has to go. But if there's an option, and if we're talking a recreational item, is it really worth the contention of, fighting with people over where it's gonna go? It's really not. The city council doesn't want to do that with you. So I'm gonna try to come up with some other options. They will be longer term, but there might be some really good ones, sometimes I get impatient and I want to do something right now. And like I said, it takes a long time for the city to do stuff. And it can kind of give you an ulcer while you're waiting for things to happen. But sometimes because of that long process, you end up with a better product at the end. And so it just takes some patience, but yeah.
You know, like I said, I think we slightly deserve the benefit of the doubt because we agreed with you before. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Jordan? Yeah,
Oh, Jordan's next?
yeah.
If anybody wants to contribute to ideas for the list, that would be fantastic too.
Yes.
There is no list. I have to come. Yeah, I'll have to come up with that. I'll work with our community development team, planning, our public works team. When I say team, I mean actually one person. I should just call it people. And I'll work with them and we'll try to come up with, you know, what do we know that's coming on down the line that we could potentially, you know, put a timeline on and put some pros and cons on. But we'll have to come up with that. But if you have ideas, let us know. You know, we don't have we don't have surplus property sitting around right now, but you know, I'll have to work on it. Yeah.
Well, hold
We
on,
have
hold on.
somebody
Let's
else.
do, go ahead, Jordan.
Okay, the first.
It goes, I don't know if they keep turning it off or if it just goes off.
Okay, so first off, I'd like to say that Campanella Park is a city park, not a neighborhood park. We were told that over and over and over and over and over again, that Campanella Park was going to be for every single person in the city. And no one person should have a larger vote than another person in the city, what happens on city property, even if they are on the other side of the fence. When I have my property, I can't determine what my neighbor does because it's private property. This is city property, which means it's everyone's property and everyone has a single vote. So that's my first statement about that park. What Melanie said was also accurate. The STCs are about $5,000 a house. That's millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars. So when you look at that park, that's $1 million park. So
Yeah.
where did all those millions of dollars go to that park? So you have a playground. And then where's the other? I mean, all that SDC money would be going to the sewer system, going to our waterfront parks. And somehow that's what we have instead for the like $5 million. I'm not quite sure how that ever came about, other than the fact the SDCs and this whole revamp that you guys are talking about with city code needs to happen right away. So developers cannot put in little neighborhood parks here and there, call them a city park, and then make the city take care of the park. Now it's our responsibility to take care of this park that is a neighborhood park in their eyes, but a city park in law. So it doesn't make sense why you put bathrooms and parking in a park, but then it's like, oh, well, it's a city park or a neighborhood park. It's very confusing to people at that point because there's parking lot, there's bathrooms there. The other thing I'd like to say is that bathroom is very, very often closed. And my daughter has come to Park and Recs asking why Park and Recs has made her pee her pants often, because the park bathrooms are often locked because homeless people have locked themselves in there. So it is a very, very common problem. We've been talking about the splash pad since 2012, 16, and in 2018, and I don't know why we're still talking about it. I'm pretty disappointed that the Park and Recs didn't stop the portal park being turned into the sewer plant. You guys could have made a recommendation to the city council to stop it, and you chose not to make that recommendation to the city council to stop the only waterfront park in Estacada from becoming a sewer plant. So that is on you guys right now of why you did not try to stop that. So that's what I have to say about that. What you guys need to be focusing on is getting these neighborhoods, developments, SDCs to pay into the SDC system instead of making these parks, because every other city, if a development wants a park, their neighborhood association pays for those parks. The city should not be paying for these neighborhood association parks in lieu of paying for the sewer system. Everyone's sewer bill is going up now. Everyone's water bill is going up. That's what SDCs are supposed to pay for, is infrastructure, not specifically just parks. I don't know how this got on this track. When I was on Park and Recs, it was one of our biggest things is to try to figure out how to make this stop. City council wouldn't do it then. You guys need to make city council stop developments from getting a free pass with the SDCs. They need to pay SDCs. And then they also need to pay to put in a park, both. So.
Can I speak to a couple things? I know you're out of time and so you'll have to go sit down, but I just want to say, we have not waived any SDCs. We do collect SDCs. The parks ones have to be spent on parks. The sewer ones have to be spent on sewer projects. The water ones have to be spent on water projects. So that is not true. And that's not a fair statement that you could have made any difference in where the sewer plant is located. We tried very hard to locate it elsewhere. That is where it has to be, but we will reclaim the old site and be able to use that for something else. So don't take that on yourself. There was nothing that you could have done to change the location because we tried very hard to find other
I
locations.
mean, there's no one on this commission that wanted to surrender the portal for that. And we had big plans for the portal and it was really dropped on us and the decision was made.
Mhm.
I know, trust what you guys are saying now is because of the sewer plant. We were told it was not going in the portal. It was going down in many other places and we were promised it was not going there and then it got changed.
We're never promised that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
And it's
Yeah.
and it's out of.
It was going on the maintenance yard lot and now it's going in the park.
Hold on.
Okay, or
One sec. I agree that the sewer plant, I agree that it's not great that it went there. It sucks that it's taking up some extra park space, but it was city council's decision.
Scenic byway, not just a park, it's a national scenic byway.
anyway, excuse me,
But
please let Chair Baloma finish.
what
We need to wrap this up.
At the end of the day, they had to make a decision, we could have made recommendations, but it sounds like we had no say in that specific project. We're trying with the SDCs, we want people to pay into the SDC system. That's what we're trying to have them do. We want not only residential, but commercial businesses to pay into that system. We don't want them to be able to waive the fees. We want to make sure that if someone is building in our neighborhoods, that they reinvest and the money goes back into the neighborhood. So we're not giving, developers the keys to the castle and letting them just build what they want, right? We're very much recommended city council to take that on and make sure that we make developers pay their fair share. That's why I wanted to speak to it at the council meeting on Monday, because I truly believe, that we shouldn't waive those STCs for anyone building in the area. They should be putting back into the community they're developing in. And I think our recommendations for STCs very much aligns with what you want to see in for SDCs. I think we're on the same page with that, right? I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think we put a few months of work into those SDCs. And I think we gave them a best version of our recommendations that we could for those. And I think, I think that would bear out. Again, I understand they had to make a choice about the waste treatment. They had to make the choice. It really wasn't up to us, but I think we're doing the best we can with the SDC conversation.
Yeah, we do have some influence there when it came to, that's the thing, we were literally in the middle of all the things of the portal as a park project, of all the things we wanted to put there. And we wanted to put the splash pad there, and that's where we're going to put pickleball courts. And that was like, I think that was even an agenda item when it was dropped on us, that it's like, oh no, you don't have that. And we did oppose it. But at this point, when Paul Strobel was sitting here and he mentioned that, I was really, really bummed out. And as I looked into it more, it's one of those things where it's like, and you just, put the emotion aside, really look at like why they had to do it. It sucks that it's there, but they have good reasons for it. And I would rather it be anywhere else, but I completely understand why they're doing it. And we're just gonna have to work with it. And it's the wastewater treatment plant is going to move. We're gonna have a new space. We're gonna be able to utilize that space. Not ideal, but it's not bad. And I think in the long run, once we actually have things that are developed there, we're gonna, we're not even gonna remember this. We're gonna just look back and be like, oh, we've got this great park and there's this thing over here that.
But I think you did touch on an important point that it is a city park. It is everybody's park. Whether you live in rural Estacada or whether you live in the city, you're right. We all pay taxes. We all pay into the system, and we do all have a say on, it is a city park. It's not just a park for the Campanella people, right? We let them, we heard their concerns, and that's why we removed the louder things. But, we still have the other playground that's going to be built, and there's more amenities coming to that park based on the plan we gave to city council. And, so there will be things that will be built soon, right? In that park,
I doubt it will be soon.
or,
It won't be soon.
or.
But yeah, a playground. I think out the other end, there was like a pollinator garden that they were interested in.
So, I think we really tried to find a balance between, things for everybody and making sure that like an ADA playground was for like every kid in the community, while also balancing with, having some louder activities,
Used to be a lot more racing back up pretty loud.
Do you have any more
Yeah,
public
no.
comment?
Yeah, I think we had Shirley, but I think she's not here anymore.
Okay.
She
Oh,
left.
is she?
No, she left.
Oh, she left. So,
I haven't seen her.
Might
go ahead.
say one thing. I know people were talking about there being trash and things like that, stuff not getting picked up in the parks. Don DeRosa spoke at the end of the city council meeting on Monday night. And I just want to put some perspective on this. There are only 6 employees on public works and only 2 for parks. So he was really, basically his point was, please don't hesitate to call, email, because you guys have to be the eyes for what's happening in the parks and around town. Since there's only 6 employees, they can't be everywhere at once, and they have priorities. But if you get on call them, put the bug in their ear, they will get on it. But he was really clear in stating that, please, I need people to call me because there's only 6 employees and then learning only 2 do parks. So it's kind of a pain that you'd have to call, but again, we are a small community with only a couple people doing the job of a lot. So the more eyes and ears on things, these guys really do appreciate. I don't think they see it as you would be pesky or whatever. They just need to know. So.
All right.
That's it.
I think that's everything. All right, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.